Hi there. I'm Heather, host of Craftlit, the classic literature podcast that I've been hosting since 2006, where I give you the audio Cliffs Notes before I play the chapter audio of the books you were supposed to read in high school, but probably didn't. But today, I wanted to share with you a little insight into the importance of story. Everybody keeps talking about why is it that the 47th president has lost their mega base over this Epstein question. It's not really a surprise if you look at this from a storytelling point of view. And to help you make sense of this, I'm going to show you a series of clips from an interview video that Jordan Klepper did a couple of years ago. All right? And I am linking out to this video in the show notes because it's worth watching. All right, let's look at the clips.
I want to talk a little bit more about how some of these things spread. Elise, I want to know if we trace back this specific theory, even the origins of adrenochrome, does it go back before it becomes sort of pulp in modern culture? Is there a history that dates back to even earlier?
It definitely does. And the way that it dates back is a little bit of sort of associative thinking. So conspiracy theories often work this way. They kind of jump onto things. They have a very lazy logic. They jump onto things that are already fully formed. One of the conspiracy theories that is attached to adrenochrome, or that adrenochrome is basically drawing on and modeling itself on, is blood libel, which is a conspiracy theory dating back to the Middle Ages that Jewish people drink or use the blood of Christian children for their religious rituals, specifically at Passover. And
for the record, we don't do that.
Yes. I mean,
thank you, Matt. Thank you for context. We appreciate
it. For specifying that. It's designed specifically to incite violence. Like, that is what blood libel is for. And if you look at these adrenochrome memes, one sort of popular one that goes around has this very obviously medieval image of a baby being drained of blood with people standing around it. And it says at the top, "Why does this image even exist?" And the image is of Simon of Trent, which is the most famous and well-documented blood libel. And this particular blood libel started Passover, 1475. A father had come to the bishop of Trent and said, "My 2-year-old son Simon is missing." And this bishop already had a story ready to go. He decided it must be the Jewish community, the very small Jewish community in Trent. He had a couple reasons for wanting this story to be true. One, he felt like the Pope was too soft on the Jewish people and that he was too cozy with them. So this was his little power grab in opposition to the Pope. And then also, if you had a saint, if he could prove that Simon was martyred by the Jews, if you had a saint in your town, that was a huge money-making opportunity. Like, you could get people from all around to make pilgrimages to your little altar, and then you would make money basically off of like brand building. That's the thing. And he wanted to kind of put Trent on the map. And so even before they start any kind of trial or anything, they round up the Jewish community, the entire Jewish community, and imprison them. And he hires a physician to write this very inflammatory autopsy that talks less about Simon's body and more about I think the phrase is dry-throated Jews howling for Christian blood, like this really over-the-top kind of autopsy. And then he takes this autopsy.
Wait, that was the doctor? That was the
doctor.
That's some really high-end literary anti-Semitism.
Yeah. And it gets more high-end because then he takes this and he sends it around to poets and to artists and is like, make stuff from this. And they do. Like, the poets start writing poems about Simon of Trent, and the woodcutters start making images. And that's the image that shows up in that adrenochrome meme, is this sort of propaganda campaign by this Italian bishop who decided he really wanted his own little ritual cult. Basically, in 2015, I started, like all of us, I think I was a little bit concerned and uneasy about the fake news phenomenon. In particular, this you can't trust anything that you see. And I started hearing echoes with the stuff that I study. And speech patterns like, that's what they want you to think, do your own research. I've heard or people are saying these kinds of gestures towards sources. I started seeing those things. I was like, uh-oh, that doesn't sound good. That sounds familiar and not good. And I just started following that. And now my autocorrect knows adrenochrome. So here we are.
In the case of these historical conspiracy theories and the beginnings of blood libel, how do you see these theories spread before modern news and communication and memes and 4chan and 8chan and Parler and True Social and should I keep going? I'm not going to keep going.
Well, they spread remarkably well. I think that the essential shape of blood libel was a very compelling shape. It was, there are evil forces that are out to get Christian children. And there was also the fact that it was pretty common for medieval children to die in accidents or disappear or fall into a river. Like child death was quite common. And so it became kind of a predictable thing that if a child died in a Christian community, that pretty soon suspicion would fall on the Jewish community. It did spread by word of mouth, but it also spread by all of these sort of cultural productions. It spread by these woodcuts. It spread by these poems that were written in honor of Simon. And it also spread because these stories got baked into the official histories. These historians think of themselves as, responsible, reliable, and they go back to the local histories and they just sort of draw from whatever the local history is. And so these blood libels get baked into sort of accepted history as fact. And then anyone who reads that will be their primary interaction, basically, with the Jewish community for a lot of places because these pogroms have already taken place. Actually, before the printing press, word of mouth didn't work that great. It really needed to be written down. And that also shows that it was mostly educated people, mostly higher class people who were spreading blood libel. It wasn't a low class theory. It was a kind of upper class theory.
Elise, historically, has there ever been a way to get people to stop believing conspiracy theories?
I mean, it's a complicated question, right? It depends on who you're talking about. Like, Johannes Hinderbach, the bishop of Trent, I don't know that he actually believed that Simon was killed by the Jews. That was sort of beside the point. I think he believed that Jewish people are evil and he wanted to drive them out, and this was a convenient way to do it, plus a bunch of other political benefits. I don't know that he actually believed it. So if you're talking about these sort of cynical purveyors of it who use it for radicalization and use it for their own sort of economic and political gain, I think you just have to take away the gain, and then that will kind of kill it. For everybody else, I think it is a complicated question because the thing about conspiracy theories is they're not about the details, they're not about the story. I feel like your segments, Jordan, have really shown this well. As soon as you ask them a question, that's the end. It doesn't go anywhere. You can't actually have a conversation about conspiracy theories. I don't even think that conspiracy theorists could have a conversation with each other about it because it's fundamentally not discursive. It's not something you can have a discussion about. It is just an attempt to make this sort of core story about yourself match up with the world. And every conspiracy theory has this same core story, and that's why it's so powerful. It's the story that the theorist holds on to and then sort of tries to match up with the world in a kind of messy way. The story is basically, once upon a time, we were happy and everything was good and we were in charge and we were safe. And then the monsters took hold. But no one knew that they had. And these monsters are not of the sort of vaguely threatening variety. They have to be absolutely gigantic, demonic, sort of the most hyperbolic thing you can think of, go another step. So it's always children, Satan, mutilation and torture, pedophilia. And the story goes that everything seemed fine because the monsters made sure this was all kept secret. So the monsters control what you know. And only the heroes of the story knew the truth, and then they arrived to save the world. And that's the benefit that you get from it. You get that worldview about yourself, that you are a continuously just sort of horrifically embattled hero of the story. And you can't really give up on this self-image of embattled heroism. It's very difficult to give up on. It's not just the high of thinking of yourself as a hero. It's also that you convince yourself that you are in this battle of absolute good and absolute evil. And so then you get to issues of, like, if you ask about democracy or fair play, what are you, nuts? Like, this is about the end of the world. So it makes it impossible to sort of dial back to issues of fairness or accuracy. It's actually not about that. And I feel like you can kind of hear that when you're talking to these QAnon followers. When they try to answer your questions, they aren't actually trying to say, like you say, so what did actually happen on January 6th? They'll say FBI, CIA, Clinton, just sort of a grab bag. But what they're actually trying to tell you is this story that the monsters are out to get us, and I'm trying to save us. There's kind of no other point to it. That's the whole ballgame.
All right, based on what you just saw, I think it's pretty obvious that if you are supporting a president or anyone in power, and you are supporting them specifically because you think they see the same thing you do, they see the danger. They see the danger that's posed to children, to the people who cannot help themselves, to the weak, the vulnerable, the people who need us and our protection. If you think you're backing the person who is going to help you save those people, and then they suddenly turn away and say, nothing to see here, that's going to be a hard pill for you to swallow, because those people who need you are still out there. The compelling nature of narrative is not something that you can screw with very easily without consequence. It's why conspiracy theories are so strong. Once they catch hold, they don't let go of people who believe them. Not because the people are stupid, necessarily, but because the stories that they are listening to are compelling to their brain. Trump is messing with the power of narrative at his own peril, and we are watching that play out in real time. And this, by the way, is why it's so important for people to study the humanities. If you skipped the humanities when you were in college, I invite you to come listen to Craftlit, where at least a third of the listenership majored in non-humanities things, and they're catching up now. And yeah, we have a lot of fun. And there's a lot of jokes to get in these old books, and that is what I'm there for. All right, take care. Have a great one. I'll talk to you soon. Hope to see you over on Craftlit. Bye.